I'm Rob Kellogg, and today we're going to talk about bloodborne pathogens. What's a bloodborne pathogen? Well, simply put, it's an organism that lives inside you in your blood. And we can give you some examples like HIV, hepatitis, things of that nature. So these are items that can actually be transferred from one person to the next through blood and mucous membrane exposures. So what we need to do and understand is if we do get exposed to this potential bloodborne pathogen, we need to take the right precautions to prevent that from happening in the first place. But what you can do to prevent that from getting on you in an instance is prevent it from getting into any open wounds like a cut or scrape. Scabs are even potential for that access. Scar tissue, regular skin, that's not the point. We're talking about something that actually has a blood potential access into the bloodstream. So we want to wrap those up with rubber, vinyl, plastics, something that's going to prevent that blood from getting into it. So with that said, and blood is actually distributed out into our environment through a cut or an injury, we need to understand that that blood still has some potential to it. Now, HIV in particular can live in blood outside the human body just for a very short period of time. We're talking minutes at best. So it relatively dies rather quickly if it can't get into another host or back into the original host. If we start dealing with dried blood, something that's been on the ground for up to a week, now we're talking about hepatitis potential. Hepatitis is extremely contagious. It can come from point A to point B rather quickly. And again, it can get through mucous membranes or any opening in your skin. So we want to take precautionary measures, not just the initial exposure, but as the cleanup afterwards. And there's a proper procedure in order to kill this stuff without getting exposed to it and preventing it from becoming an issue. So we need to take a 10% solution of chlorine to water mixture. So we want to make sure that it depends. If you got a gallon, you do 1/10 of a gallon. So whatever you got. And we want to make sure that we put this on the affected area. But we also want to understand that the droplets that you see, the big ones you see, aren't the only droplets in the material. So if you get into concrete and you get into wood, which are very absorbent, like drywall is the same, paper surface, you're going to get some very absorbent material and it's going to embed itself into that material. So when we kill this, we just don't spray it and get it moist. We saturate it. We get it to where there's actual water solution that's pooling somewhat on top of that material so it really gets into the pores of whatever it is that this blood might be on. We also want to make sure that we use it in a proper action because these little droplets, as you see here, that come through the air, as soon as they hit, they don't just stay there, they splatter, they explode. And if you get one droplet, that means you could have several very microscopic spotlets around it as well. In fact, you will. If it falls for a significant distance, a foot or more, you're going to have that aggressive spattering effect. So if we've got the spattering effect, we want to make sure that we control it by taking it from the outside and drawing it towards the center of our exposure, wherever that might be. Because if we start in the middle and we work our way out, we literally could be pushing that hepatitis out to the edge, and if it gets pushed, it may not get killed. So we want to make sure that we are killing this before we leave it alone. And the best way to do that is with your sprayer or pouring it in moderation. You want to start from the outside of about 18 to 24 inches outside and work your way around it completely and start spiraling in towards the center. Again, we're saturating this entire area with this 10% solution so we can kill off any potential bloodborne pathogens that might be on the surface. We don't want to come in contact with this stuff. Please don't touch it until you kill it. Once you kill it, take the necessary precautions, wear gloves, and follow the procedures according to your bloodborne pathogen cleanup. If you got wet blood and pooling, that's a whole different story on cleanup. We're talking about controlling it and killing it so that way it doesn't spread and cause more contamination. This is something you can do for yourself. It's in your work area and somebody else's blood or vice versa. We want to make sure we educate people. So watch this stuff being done when it's at your project. If you do have an injury there, be sure to do the proper procedures for cleaning up this stuff and don't just sweep it up and call it good. It's not going to work. Hepatitis can live up to a week without any other influences. So be very aware of that. So if you have any questions or concerns, please contact us here at Ultimate Group. It's our job to help you. Thanks very much. And remember, safety is not a mindset, it's a state of mind. Thanks.